Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Friday 13th YouTube channel. Today you're going to be watching a fantastic interview with Sean Peck from the band Cage. Now, Cage have been around for many, many years from San Diego, playing fantastic US power metal. Sean is also involved with the band The Three Tremors, which features Harry Colgan from Jag Panzer and also Tim Ripper from KK's Priest. So please like, please give thumbs up, please share on social media and tell your friends to subscribe to this channel. Also, I'd like to thank Sean for doing this interview. Stay metalheads. More interviews coming soon in the future.
There we go, mate.
How you going, brother? Long time no see.
Look at that backdrop.
Oh, it's kicking, man. It's kicking. How are you?
With those two arms coming up behind you, it looks cool.
How are you doing? Long time no see.
Yeah, dude. Look at that shirt you got, dude.
This is the shirt you gave me at Dynamo.
Oh, wow.
It's like 24 years old and it still fits.
It looks brand new. I know it still fits. God bless you.
So I'm going to start this interview off then, Sean. So I'd just like to thank Sean Peck from Cage for doing this interview, folks. We're talking to Sean about Cage career. So the last time we did an interview, Sean, was about 24 years ago for the first album. So it's like a lot to catch up on. I mean, we met up, like I say, on the Three Tremors tour in Sheffield a couple of years ago. So how successful? I mean, as a singer, I mean, who's your inspirations? Who's inspired you besides Rob Halford, obviously? Who else is your influences?
Well, Halford was number one. I love, Midnight from those first two Crimson Glory albums. It's just unbelievable. The early Jeff Tate, obviously, so before I became a singer, I was just running around my bedroom, screaming and air guitaring and doing all that shit. And I decided to sing because learning how to play guitar seemed like way too much work. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just be a singer. And then just taught myself how to do it and gradually got my own style. And then when Ripper came along, he was a big influence too, I'd have to say. When that Jugulator album hit, I was like, what the fuck is this? So Ripper, Halford, Tate, and Harry Conklin is like he can out-sing pretty much anybody. So he's become an influence on me too.
What do you think of Ripper's old band, Winter's Bane? Before
Dude, I love Heart of a Killer, and I love that stuff. Can't remember what tour we were on. We were playing that album, like Silhouette and shit. I fucking love that song. And Haunted House.
Kind of weird thing about that album is, Sean, I got a mention on that album, and I didn't even know until like 2 months later. I was like, oh shit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because I used to know Tim, and I used to know his guitarist as well, Lou, back in the day.
Okay.
But yeah, like you say, Midnight. I mean, obviously, Midnight's a fantastic singer. Like Crimson Glory, I've just released a new single. What do you think of that new single? Have you heard it?
It's pretty good. I mean, the singer's a cool dude. We met him when we played in Texas. The drummer Wayne Stokely is in that band, and they're really good. He was a really good singer, and I wish him the best. I mean, it's hard, to me, John Drenning was the heart and soul of that band. I'm not gonna, John Drenning doesn't want to write songs anymore. That's been.
Sorry, you're breaking up, Sean. You're breaking up your vocals.
30 years or so. So I wish him the best. I mean, the song was pretty cool. It wasn't like a mind blower, but it definitely had the Crimson Glory vibe. I mean, those first two albums are the bar is set so high, like it would be a miracle to overcome how good those two albums are, especially Transcendence. Transcendence could be my favorite album of all time. I mean, that might be, that's how good that record is. But I'm stoked for him and wish him all the best.
Okay, then. So, what band was you in before Cage formed? Because a lot of people out there won't know. What was your first band? Did you record any demos or anything?
There is on. It's the first one was called Tax Evasion, and I think on YouTube there is a song called Keg Fund. All we cared about back then was being in college and partying and drinking beer. So keg, like a keg of beer, fund, like money. That's where you would pass the hat around so you could buy more beer. So that's all we really thought about back then. So that's what we wrote songs about. So Tax Evasion, funny band because we were not good at all. It was a cover band basically, and then we had like 5 originals, and we were all kind of closet metalheads. But we were playing in college, you know, all these you have to play the college kind of songs, and then we would break out like the Trooper. And we played in front of with San Diego State University, humongous crowds, thousands of people, and we'd be playing, and we'd break out the Trooper, and the girls would just be horrified, but there'd be 5 drunk dudes banging their head in front of us. So, and then from then I went on to Nomad, and Nomad is had we released the Nomad tapes, so there's some recordings from that. That was a real. I wish I would have kept that band together, man. I love that band name, Nomad. I wish if we would have just kept that together, that band would have been freaking legendary. But that part of that band became Cage, and so it went from Tax Evasion to Nomad to Cage, and now here we are, man. Still going strong with Cage with a new record coming out soon.
So, Nomad, did you do any demos that are available on YouTube for people to listen to? Was there anything on there?
Tax Evasion, there's a song or two, I think, and then Nomad. We released a digital only album, and you can find that someone's selling it illegally right now. But we should probably make that a product and put it up there because there's some good stuff in there. We harvested a lot of the riffs from those Nomad songs. We have a song called Boiling Witches, which was a really good one. The Nomad was full of really talented musicians. That was where I got into my first, Tax Evasion was not too serious. But when I got into Nomad, I was like, these are like shred 2 amazing guitar play. Everybody in the band was like super good, super experienced at being in a band. I was like, oh shit, these are like real band dudes. So I had to quickly learn how to write songs and become a real. I'm not a musician, but you know what I'm saying. So there are demos to be found. I think there's like 7 songs recorded of that. It's pretty good.
So, Tax Evasion sounds like a hardcore band. It doesn't really sound metal, does it? Sounds like a punk hardcore band.
It was just we were playing Lou Way. We were doing freaking I wanna rock and roll all night. Stones, like college party songs. Beatles, all kinds of that shit. So I was doing that and having to sing literally like 3 hours at a show, which is a long fucking time. And I was like, going, dude, how do you keep singing for 3 hours? So I was new to singing, and I had to learn how to perform and keep a crowd entertained, though, because like I said, we were playing parties with thousands.
Sorry, you broke up, Sean. You're losing the sound connection. We need to. Your sound's not too good.
Yeah, people trying to call in on my phone. So yeah, we were playing parties with thousands of people. So I had to early on in my career, and with Cage, Cage, we went straight on to opening for a lot of national acts in the early '90s that were still able to draw big crowds coming off the '80s. So we had to learn how to be, even though the band wasn't that good in the early days, we had to learn how to like entertain, and even though the music was not up to par and in front of big crowds. I mean, I remember one of our first national acts was opening for Great White, and there was like 900 people in there, and back in like '93 or some shit like that. So they were still drawing big numbers, and like I said, you got to learn how to be interesting, even if your music is not up to par. You got to compensate, but eventually, as you know, Cage's music caught up with the live performance, and now here we are.
Congratulations, mate. The first album, Unveiled, I got that from a record store in America called Dream Disc. It was like
Oh yeah,
because you put it out yourselves officially, didn't you? Before it got re-released. So I've got the original recording of that from there that you guys put out. I mean, that was a great album. I mean, the drums were kind of thin sounding, as you probably agree with me, but the songs were still really, really good.
Yeah, there's some really good tracks on there that I wish.
Shoot to Kill and people songs like that.
Shoot to Kill. I mean, we won the Rock Hard, Best New Band of the Year competition from that song, and that got us out to play the Dynamo Festival, and
that's where we
that
met.
got us yeah, and that got us our first record Steel, and so yeah, that was the song that did it. But we might remix that album one day, and we're remixing and re-releasing Astrology. That's in the works right now.
Right, because
And the fucked up thing about that is two of the songs got recorded over, so we're gonna have to actually make new recordings of Psychotically Deranged, and I think Victim of Society. We got to re-record them because the original, we were going through the tapes and fucking somehow we recorded over one of. And Psychotically Deranged is like, could be the best song on the Astrology.
okay, can you hear me? So, okay, yeah, okay. So then, I mean, that album, I believe Sebastian put that out for you, didn't he? Reissued it for you.
Yeah, Omega Records. It was great because Nuclear Blast was thinking about signing us, but we went with a smaller label and gave us a lot of attention, and whatever. Maybe it was not the smartest move, maybe it was, but we went that way. And the problem, the Cage could have been way bigger and more established. We would have toured. We would we would show up, play a few shows, and then disappear for a few years. So if we would have toured, especially on the Darker Than Black album, we had a tour with Camelot, and then the label kind of pulled the plug on it. We didn't have any connections, to set up our own tours or anything. And I think if we would have been able to play a bunch of shows and really grind it in the early days, we would have been way more established. But now we're just, we're in our later years and we're just doing it for the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, I mean, did the debut album sell well for you with its re-release on MTM?
It did. It sold crazy. I remember before we re-released it, Hellion was sending me they sent me like an envelope of cash to get the CDs, and it was lost in the mail. And they're like, dude, we sent it. I'm like, I'm telling you, nothing showed up. So they sent me another envelope of cash, and I sent them the CDs. And then weeks later, the original envelope full of cash showed up. I go, hey, dude, I got the first envelope. And they go, fuck it, send us some more. Yeah, it sold like crazy. Because it was, that was old school heavy metal at a time where there wasn't much of that. So it was like, a heroin addict that hadn't had a fix in a long time. So people were that album just took off like word of mouth, like wildfire. It's really cool.
I mean, the second album, Astrology, that was a really good album. It was a more solid production, wasn't it, for you? Better songwriting as well, because you're getting more mature as a band, wasn't you?
The main upgrade from that album was, we had a drummer that could really, the drumming level went up 10 notches. So that allowed us.
Was that Mickey? Mickey.
Yeah, Mikey Neal.
From Catharsis, his old band Catharsis.
From Catharsis. So when we got him, that just opened up everything. So that's what everyone said. It sounded like, Unveiled to the second album, Astrology, it sounded like Astrology was like 4 albums from there. So everyone was really like, holy shit, the advancement went now, but we're remixing and mastering that. The mixing of that album was a nightmare, dude. We had to remix it and redo the whole thing twice, and it still didn't come out that good. So we're, it's finally going to get a proper sounding release, and it's sold out. I think I have one copy of the fucking thing, for my personal collection. So really hard to find the Astrology album, and it's got, like you said, great songs on it.
Yeah, I mean, the next album, Darker Than Black, that's when you started getting a real good production. Is that when you signed with Massacre Records?
Yes. Signed with Massacre Records. That's when we went up to Silver Cloud Studios, where Halford was doing his albums. That's where I met Joe Floyd from Warrior, Roy Z. And, we got in with the guy who ended up, they call him the Guru. He ended up, that's what Z calls him. He ended up being actually the guitar player for, I think, the Accident of Birth tour for Dickinson's solo tour last minute. And he mixed that album, and he mixed Astrology, and it came out great. Z helped with it too. Roy Z helped he put some leads on there, and he did some mixing, and that was a really good time, man. That album blew everybody's face off.
Do you think that album was when Cage found their identity for that album, your true identity? Is that when the real Cage music came out?
Well, that's what happened. Was we got rid of guitar player Eric Horton. He was great guitar player, good buddy of mine, but he kind of stifled Dave Garcia. You know, Dave kind of always looked to Eric for like approval and shit. And we got Anthony McGinnis in the band, the other guitar player, who's incredible, incredible songwriter. And that allowed Dave just to flourish and become his true self and write whatever the fuck he felt like writing and not have to worry about what Eric Horton was going to think.
I mean, let's face it, Sean. Nobody's going to fuck with Dave. He's like a bit like a brick shit house.
No, but he always wanted to beat the shit out of Eric Horton. And then one night, me and Eric got in the scuffle, and Dave was so stoked that I actually knocked him out cold. But I love Eric. He's if you're listening right now, we're really good friends. And but it was just he was Eric was in a weird place in his life, and it's like music wasn't a priority. It was kind of a priority for all of us, and that allowed Dave just to fucking start writing just legendary track after legendary track, and along with Anthony. Anthony was fucking incredible. I Am the King, and he wrote just some fucking insanely good riffs.
Do you actually see anything of the old band members? Any of them? Do you keep in touch with any of them at all?
Yeah, I just talked to Mikey G, the bass player forever. We might have him record some bass on the new Cage record for old time's sakes. Jerry Butchko, who was in Nomad, who was in Cage for a little bit. I talk to him all the time. Mikey Neal, I see from time to time. He's here in San Diego. So pretty much the only one who's disappeared is Anthony McGinnis. Like nobody knows where the fuck he is. It's weird. No one, not on social media. No one knows how to get a hold of him. So Anthony, if you're out there, hit me up, dude.
Yeah, send my regards to them all. I mean, the next album, Hell Destroyer, great album, as you can see behind me. That was on Massacre Records, I believe, as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry?
What was the question?
I said the next album, Hell Destroyer, I believe that was on Massacre as well.
No, that was not on Massacre.
Okay.
That's when we got out of our contract from Massacre, and we went with, I can't remember the name of the label, but they filed bankruptcy.
Was it Pure Steel? Or Pure Steel? Was it? Well, not Pure Steel, was it?
No, it wasn't Pure Steel. It was someone. I remember, Sebastian from Omega took me to these guys, and they had all kinds of, I can't remember the name of them. They had kinds of freaking bands on the label, and then we got ripped off, man. They sold a shit ton of album. Hell Destroyer was probably our best-selling record. We made no money. We got ripped off by the label in the U.S., and we got ripped off by the label in Germany because they filed bankruptcy.
Wow.
So, unfortunately, but great record. A lot. The reviews on Darker Than Black and Hell Destroyer were like through the roof. I mean, we got 3 Album of the Month awards in a row for Hell Destroyer, Darker Than Black, Science of Annihilation. I think Supremacy of Steel, too. We got 4. And they said on Heavy Odor Boss, we should have gotten Astrology. We were 3 with Astrology, but they added the numbers up wrong, and Halford's solo album took first, but we actually beat Halford. So it would have been 5 Album of the Months in a row. And the funny part is we kept 2 of those years. Dream Theater was number 2. So, Dream Theater was looking at this like going, who the fuck is this Cage band? It's 2 years in a row. They knocked us out of the top spot. So, yeah, Hell Destroyer concept album. That's where I got my nickname from. And I wanted to do the ultimate Heaven versus Hell concept album, that no one could ever, like, just put the nail in the coffin of, like, the ultimate demons versus angels fantasy novel, and we did it, man. We did it with that.
Okay, then so I mean, the next album was Science of Annihilation. That's a great album as well. I mean, how do you see each album that you've done from the first album as a progression? How do you see each album progress in your eyes, in your mind? How do you see it?
Well, so the drums went up another notch again after Hell Destroyer. So Mikey Neal left the band, and now we had Norm Leggio from Psychotic Waltz, good friend of mine, and he really, he was a student of the craft. Mikey Neal was like raw talent, and Norm was, you know, a student of the drums, so he knew the different and he knew a lot about metal. You know, he owned a record store, so he knew all the different kind of beats and the different styles. So he really helped. Signs of Annihilation is my favorite album, I think. He really helped take it even to a new level of power thrash. Um, and the songs on that record, you know, we still had the guitar duo of Anthony McGinnis and Dave Garcia, but with Norm coming in, able to take the drums to a new level, we were able to turn up the notch even fucking higher. And Scarlet Witch, Planet Crusher, Black River Falls, Speed Kills, and the final song on that record, the title track, Signs of Annihilation, is an epic monstrosity from hell that's, you know, crazy speed madness. So, yeah, and then the image behind you is the Signs of Annihilation re-annihilated, where we redid the drums and remixed everything. Redid the drums with Sean Elge, currently in KK's Priest, only because in order to mix it right, we had to get drums that we could work with. Didn't have anything to do with Norm's performance. It was just we had to re-record them so that we could make the remix sound good. So that's probably my favorite record right there.
Okay, then. So, what I mean, looking at it, I mean, you guys are going to be doing a new album very soon, which we're going to talk about. But you did the Supremacy of Steel was the next album. How successful was that for you in sales? And did you do any touring?
Yeah, I mean, we've toured, you know, all different time periods. Supremacy of Steel. Supremacy of Steel was funny because that was the first one. Is the second one we kind of mixed ourselves, and the mix is fucking horrible on it. But the songs are so good. So everybody was saying like, dude, I want to listen to this so loud, but it hurts my ears. I mean, that's what they were saying. But it got great reviews, even though the mix is not good. And that we're going to probably remix and re-release too. But really good songs: Hell Destroyer versus Metal Devil, freaking Blood Steel, Beast of Bray Road, Metal Empire. I mean, there's a lot of good songs on that. It's on par with Signs of Annihilation. I like Signs of Annihilation a little bit better, but it did really well. The press loved it, even though the mix was shit. And you know, we had the image on the cover is basically the three metal gods. You can't see them above you, but that's kind of like us on stage with the metal gods looking down. Another great artwork by Mark Sasso. And we that was with kind of the new lineup. That was with Brogdon and Pete Stone on bass. That's when Anthony McGinnis left. Mike Giordano on bass, who'd been in the band since the beginning, finally left. It's hard, man. It's a volunteer thing. You're not making any money. It's all for the love of it, you know. And eventually, you might lose your love for it. And so you get new, energized, enthusiastic people in. And Brogdon wrote some really good riffs on some of the songs, and so we had a good thing going with that lineup for a while.
I mean, it seems like you've been unsuccessful with like mastering and mixing. You seem to be doing remixing all these albums. You've not had much luck with productions, have you? By the sounds of it.
Well, you know, Dave started, instead of spending $30,000 on a record, we like, fuck it, let's save the money and do it ourselves. And it's not going to sound as good, but it'll still be, you know, passable. And Dave was still learning. Dave can mix the fuck out of records right now. I mean, he did the last two Three Tremors records. It sounded really good. So, you know, we knew we weren't going to have the greatest mixes, but we were able to take that money and go tour and shit with it that we would have dumped on a record. That as that the music industry is now devolved into everything's free mode, you know, it's good because it helped Dave learn, you know, what he was doing. So, but yeah, we're gonna go back and remix them just for our own sake too. And now we're talking about Ancient Evil.
Yeah, yeah. Ancient Evil, that's the last album you did. Why is it taking so long for you guys to do a new album. I mean, obviously Sean's with KK's Priest. What's the reason you've done the Three Tremors? Obviously, most of the Three Tremors lineup was all Cage members anyway.
Well, Three Tremors albums were basically Cage albums. I mean, Cage wrote both those records, so it was just, and and there's versions of both those records with just me singing them. Which we released the solo versions of the Tremors on the first album because I sang the whole song and then would send it to the other guys. So they were basically Cage records with Ripper and Harry joining in the fun. That's why primarily that, and then I did a lot of Death Dealer records, and I did Denner Sherman, and that was the main reason that it's been a delay in the Cage. We probably have like 20 new Cage songs recorded. We're going to try and record a few others. So we could have put out a Cage record probably 2 years ago.
Right. Okay.
Which is the same with Death Dealer. I mean, the new Death Dealer album we've had done for 3 years. That's going to be coming out.
So Ancient Evil, how do you see this as a progression from all the previous albums? And how was the new Cage album going to sound compared to this last album?
Well, this album was another concept album. H.P. Lovecraft, a horror story. With Blaze Bailey did played the main character, voice acting. He did a great job on it. This was with Sean Elge and Casey Trask on guitar. So this was a new writing team, and you can hear Casey's influences on it. I still go back to this record, and I can't believe we wrote these songs. Like, how the fuck did we come up with this shit? I thought this record was going to be the one where everyone's like, I thought it was going to have people go, I don't know, or take a while for it to grow on them. But I couldn't believe the reaction, how good it was, like right out of the gate. I thought for sure people were going to go, I don't know about this one, because we had just nothing but great review all the way through our career. And I thought this was the one that was going to take the nosedive, but I was wrong. I mean, people really liked it. That thing, we sold out of the books. We sold out of the only thing we have left, I think, is vinyls and a few CDs. So if you're listening to this, the vinyl is still available. But it was really cool. I mean, I wrote a book for it. I think I'm going to put the book on YouTube, because I voice acted the whole book too. It's like an audio book. I think I'm going to put that out on YouTube because the story is very complete. But if you want to do a deep dive on the story, you can do it with the book. And the book's short; it's like 150 pages. But I wanted to make a horror story that was all action. Like you're watching a video game or something. So people actually really dug the story that I came up with, and that helped me when I rolled into Denner Sherman. I can go, hey, dude, I've already written a fucking horror story that's proven itself. So you want to talk about how the new songs sound?
Yeah.
Well, I'll send you one when we get off. The new songs, Dave has written a majority of them. Casey's got a few in there, and we're going to write a few more with Casey. So they're really Dave Garcia centric. So those classic crunchy Cage riffs. It's not like as fast as the other stuff. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to write a couple more fast ones. It's up tempo. We've got Crimson Skies. A lot of them have long intros, man. Dave, I don't know what Dave's doing. He was doing these really cool. Kind of Judas Priest has done that too, I guess, now on the new Priest record. But a lot of them have Midnight Suns, long intro. Tyrant of the Dead, long intro. But I'm like, we're going to cut him down. I'm like, dude, it sounds so good. Dave is for being such a big beast with muscles and shit, and looking like such a badass. He's got an incredible gift for melody, that dude. And then we have a really good ballad on there. My buddy, local guitar player, sent me this acoustic piece, and then I sang on it, and the fucking ballad came out killer. So I would say it's definitely progression. I've let some people hear it. They're like, dude, it's classic Cage. I'm like, all right, that's good. So am I satisfied with it? No. But maybe if we write more songs, I feel a little bit better about it.
Do you have a title for this album?
It was going to be called Dungeon Crawler. I don't know if there's one song called Dungeon Crawler on it. I might change the title though, because when we were going to release it ourselves, I had a whole the album was going to open up and it was going to be a game board, kind of a Dungeons and Dragons game thing, which I already written and designed the whole game. You were taking the Cage band through a dungeon, and the final room was the Mosh Pit in Hell, which is one of the songs on there that we already released. That's already on the sampler. That song's been out there for a while.
Is it
But
on
I don't know
YouTube?
if I'm
Is it
going
on
to do that
YouTube?
anymore.
Is it on YouTube?
Is it?
No, I'm asking you. Is it on YouTube?
No. It was on a. We put a sampler disc together, and we put that song on the sampler. So I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore, and I might change the name of the album. So that's still in limbo a little bit.
What about the artwork? Have you got any artwork in mind? Have you finished it or?
No, I started talking to Mark. Mark Sasso's going to do it again, keeping the lineage with the same artist. I had a whole when we were doing Dungeon Crawler, we had a whole concept of how we were going to do it, and now that we might not do that, we're back to the drawing board. I'm not sure.
So what about record label? Who are you gonna sign with for this new album?
Well, I don't know if it's been announced, but we just signed Death Dealer back to Massacre Records. So Massacre Records is going to be releasing everything Death Dealer, the whole back catalog, box set, and the new Death Dealer record. So I assume we might talk to them. We'll put it out there and see who wants to take on the legendary Cage and put it out, because I was doing it through my label Steel Cartel for years and years and years, and now I'm on to other ventures. I'm deep into the comic book world and doing other stuff, so I don't have time to run a record label anymore.